I go home.
Hey everybody, Chad Westport here, and we're back with another episode of Just One Thing. That's where I go out into the grow community and talk with experienced growers and ask them what is their just one thing they think all new growers should be aware of. And we've got another fun one today, a guy whose content I have been watching. You've probably been watching it too, but we got Basement Autoflowers with us today. How you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thanks for having me on. I think what you're doing over here is pretty unique and pretty cool, man, because being a new grower, being an experienced grower, all kinds of different things that you think about when you're brand new, man. It's nice to dial it into that one thing.
It is, man. And that's, something simplicity sometimes is good, but there's a lot to know as well. So, speaking of, what is your just one thing that you think all new growers should be aware of?
So many things to kind of keep in mind, man. I mean, some people think about equipment, some people think about medium, some people think about the nutrients. Honestly, over here, my one thing combines all of those. And coming up with that plan and making sure you stick to the plan. The number one thing, guys, is stick to the plan. And what I mean by that is after you pick the equipment you want to use, the nutrients you want to use, whether you want to do photo periods or auto flowers, sorry, make sure whatever plan you have in mind, you stick to that, guys. Because what happens is we get on these platforms, we start looking at people that are growing this plant that already have a few years in. They've already done all the work, they've already done the plan. And then you see how well they're doing with, let's say, a different medium. And then you decide, I want to switch that medium. Stick it through, guys, and make sure that you at least follow that through for at least 3 cycles. Because so many things can change, man. I mean, you know yourself, brother. All things are going to come into play. Humidity is going to change. Temperature is going to change. Your genetics are going to change. And if you keep changing all the inner nodal parts of that as well, like your lights and your nutrients, and you're changing your feeding schedule because Joe Blow's doing it better with cocoa and you're doing it better with pH. I mean, it all kind of comes into the mix, right? So sticking to that plan is so crucial. A lot of us as new growers too, man, we give so much advice to people. And sometimes I feel like we give it in the wrong way. Do you know what I mean? You've already got a plan in place and you're already following techniques that are getting you to harvest. But you're not going to get those big plants unless you continue to follow that plan through and through and through over the course of 1 to 2, 3 cycles so you can find out where you make mistakes. Maybe you're adding too much light in the vegetative stage. Maybe you're not adding enough in the flower stage. Maybe your nutrients just need to be dialed in a little bit better during that veg stage. All these things are going to come into play, but if you're not documenting it and you keep changing your plan, you're never going to get good at growing. You're going to continue to get little stunted girls pulling a joint to 2 ounces off a plant, and then eventually you're going to get frustrated and stop growing this plant altogether. And I think that's the main thing, man, realistically. When it comes to growing, you really have to have patience because you're not going to be good overnight, man. We go to these stores, we see these people posting their best content on here, showing these beautiful top nuggets. You're not going to get those overnight, man. It's going to take you time. And the patience that I had is it didn't matter if I got an ounce or a pound off a plant. I knew that if I ran through that process, whether that weed was good or bad, it was still going to get me high. So it all circles back to that, man. I mean, we're only growing this plant because we either can't afford to buy as much as we need, or we need more medicine for friends or family, or whatever reason you're growing it. But at the end of the day, pick a plan, get that plan down on paper, dial it in over the course of 3 grows. I think that's minimum. And have the patience. By patience, I mean have the weed, man. Get high and enjoy the experience. We've got cool communities like this where you can come on and you can get all these tips and techniques, where you can find out how to water. You can find out what medium's best. You can find out how to control pests. And all these things are going to come, guys. But right off to the bat, when you're running through that plan, make sure that you're just trying to get to harvest. And then eventually all that stuff's going to come together and the bud's going to get better and better and better. We're trying to control Mother Nature in our own environment, whether you're growing in a grow tent, a grow room like I've got over here, or you're growing outside. You can't control those temperatures. So those variables are going to come into play. The other variable is going to be your life, man. Do you really have enough time to even garden? It takes a lot of time and it's a lot of commitment. That's why I say just keep it simple at the beginning, man. Once you figure out what works best for you, all that time is going to get less and less and less because you're spending all your time getting better realistically. I don't know if that makes any sense, guys. I think I might have walked around a whole circle there, but that's the truth, man. High as a kite over here. Why did I get so high before this interview? I don't know. I think it might be the highest interview I've ever done, man, to be honest with you. 100%. And I think realistically fixing those problems in the early stages of being a grower, like for instance, if you get a CalMag deficiency, pretty easy fix. If you get a nitro deficiency, pretty easy fix. But realistically, if I could go back and be those first growers where I was having all those problems, I think I'd probably leave the problem. I think I would probably just try to dial in my next feeding, try to clean it up a little bit. But all I'm going to do is go back to the basics. Make sure I'm checking my pH. Make sure my pH pen's calibrated. All these things are going to come into plan, and hopefully that's going to fix the deficiency that you've already caused because of pH, and then they can't pick up the nutrients properly or whatever happened in the past. All I'm trying to get at is maybe just leave those mistakes for the first few runs until you're starting to realize, okay, I'm getting high off this weed. Now I need to start documenting this. Why are these guys writing this down? Why do they know how long they're vegging for? Why do they know when they're flipping the flower? What nutrients are they giving between those stages, man? That all is going to come, but just get from point A to point B, and then you're going to start getting better at it. It's just like real life, man. I mean, once they get that formula dialed in, and they know if I take X amount of humidity, X amount of temperature, X genetics as well, because they're going to play a factor. And then I've got my nutrients dialed in. I know that I've got no deficiencies throughout this run on this particular pheno or this particular strain. The next strain that I put into that garden, I'm going to run the same process. Now I'm going to be able to know how this strain reacts to my previous feed schedule. And then I can typically run that again if I'd like, depending on if I like it or not. If it has deficiency, I kind of know where it happened in that week. I track it on my board. I know what I fed, and then I can make a decision based on what I fed. A lot of us are making decisions based on information we don't really know. We're guessing. And I think if you write it down and you stick to that plan, it's just a hell of a lot easier in the long run, man. I'm a dumb dude, guys, over here. I smoke a lot of weed, and honestly, I'm becoming a pretty good grower. One of the main reasons for that is because I documented it all. I've got books up here. I read Mr. Growit's book. I've been watching tons and tons of YouTube videos. Am I a pro? No, I'll probably never be a pro. The only reason I share my stuff and the only reason I get on things like this is so we can motivate new growers to get in the garden. And it is simple if you keep it simple, man. And it's as simple as that.
Oh yeah, man. Well, you sound smart to me from this end of the microphone. You're sounding smart, and I'd love for everybody else to check out more of your most smartestness. I made that word up. Did you know?
Smartestness is definitely a word in my category. And if they want to check me out, man, they can go check me out over on YouTube at Basement Autoflowers. Same thing over on Instagram. And they can check us out on our website, man, www.basementautoflowers.shop. We've also got a show over on Twitch brought to you by Fast Bud Genetics, man. We're not going anywheres. I hope to see some new growers come into the community. We go live a lot. We bring in a lot of new guests, and hopefully we'll have you on as well, man. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
man, because this is a pretty special segment you got going over here.
Oh, thank you, man. Absolutely my pleasure. And in case they didn't catch it, you were Canaflix on Twitch, right?
Canaflix. So if you go to Twitch, you can search fast_buds. And you'll find me over there every Sunday at 3 p.m., guys. We've got Ricky Williams coming on. We just had Tommy Chong on. We got Jorge Cervantes coming on. Big names, man. I don't know how I'm doing it, but honestly, I think I'm doing it because I'm sticking to a plan.
It's because you're most smartest.
Most smartest. Smart like dumb truck.
Yes. All right. Well, with that, man, again, thank you for your time, Basement Autoflowers. I appreciate that. And everybody out there, we will catch you on the next one. Peace out.
I go home.